Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is GeGe and today we have a yin yoga practice for the posterior chain muscles. All you're going to need is a mat and if possible a block or a bolster or maybe a thick book covered with a towel, some towels rolled up, just something to prop yourself up with. So we're just going to start by connecting to the breath. Sitting up nice and tall, and if sitting up doesn't work for you today, you're very welcome to lay down on your back, both feet planted into the ground, and we're just becoming aware of our breath, rooting down into the ground with the sit bones, and then lightness into the crown of the head. That grounding and lengthening, and then shoulders are away from the ears and we're finding space. We're finding space in the rib cage. As you breathe in, the rib cage separates, and as you breathe out, it comes back in. Feeling where the air resides in your body. Do you breathe into your belly? Do you breathe more in your chest, or is it right up in your throat? If it's higher up, try directing it down, noticing a rise and fall. And we're going to get started with our first posture, starting at the bottom of the body with the calf muscles. So grabbing your prop, you're going to place your toes onto the edge of the prop, and then we're going to take a forward fold with a soft bend in the knees. Maybe you grab opposite elbows, or maybe you bring the fingertips down to the ground. And we're targeting the calf muscles here, but of course the hamstrings too. Allowing the body to hang completely heavy and melting of the torso over the legs. And we're not here for long in this first pose or in the next one, just 60 seconds in each one. As I said, this is the posterior chain we're working with, so we're starting at the bottom with the calves and with the feet, and then we'll work up through the hamstrings, the glutes, the lats and the erector spinae muscles. Brilliant. Starting to come out, roll up to standing, vertebrae by vertebrae, and then come down to all fours. We're going to go into toes pose. So just taking a second, you're going to tuck the toes under, and there's a couple of options here. You can either stay on your hands, just feeling that stretch through the backs of your feet. You can place a prop underneath the bum, between the heels and the bum, just to elevate the bum a little bit, or you can come to sit all the way up, bum onto the heels, coming into toes pose. You can also bring a blanket underneath the knees to cushion a little bit. And then closing the eyes. We're only here for a minute. This is an intense posture. We're opening up through the backs of the feet, the arches, softening the muscles, softening the fascia. And by stretching the backs of the feet, this helps to open up the hamstrings a little bit higher up the posterior chain. Keeping your breathing smooth and steady. In through the nose and out through the nose or mouth. If you can help it, eyes closed. And then slowly start to come out, come onto your hands and knees, and gentle pitter-patter of the feet as you untuck. And then take a second to observe any sensations in your all fours tabletop position. This is what we call a rebound pose. Just taking a moment to observe, take notice. We're moving into our next pose, so come onto the bum, and we're going to come into a half shoelace. So this is a combination of the glutes and the hamstring. Bring the legs out in front of you, and then your right leg is going to cross over. You can either have the sole of the foot planted into the ground, or you can do as I'm doing, stacking one knee on top of the other. Super relaxed feet. And then slowly starting to fold over, now only going to a place where you can feel a small amount of sensation. Finding your edge is what we call it in yin. And then just remaining there. And we've got 3 minutes on the timer, so as that time carries on ticking, you might find a little softening, a little bit more space in the muscles, that hard fascia starting to soften. And that might mean that you can go a little bit further in. Bringing the nose down towards the knee, not a task, just an intention. Allowing the back to round. Soft fingers, maybe palms up as I'm doing here. A complete surrender. Letting gravity melt you down into the mat, no resistance. Wherever you're at today, whatever the pose is for you right now, is exactly where you're supposed to be. There may be unhelpful thoughts that start to pop up. Why am I not more flexible? Why can't I relax? Why can't I stop my brain from overthinking? These are all very normal. In yoga, we call that jumping around of thoughts the monkey mind. And so in yin yoga, yes, there's the physical practice, but also the practice of taming the monkey mind, constantly but gently bringing it back to the present moment. What do you feel in your body? What can you observe about how this pose feels? And then also observing the breath. If it's trapped somewhere, if you're taking much more static breath, then let it become smooth and long again. And we're going to start coming out. Gently unravel your legs and then just bring them both out in front of you. And sitting up just with the legs out in front of you, close the eyes and observe. And we're going to take that on the other side. So this time taking your left leg over, taking that cross. You don't have to do the same thing on one side that you did on the other. This is a common myth because our bodies are not symmetrical. So if an alternative works better for you on this side, go with that. Whichever version you're using, fold in. And notice straight off if there's any differences on this side. Any limitations, noticing without judgment. We all have our physical limitations, as well as our mental ones, and it's about understanding that it's okay. As I said, targeting the glute of the leg that's folded over the top and the hamstring of the leg that's stretched out, moving up that posterior chain. And when I say posterior chain, this literally means the muscles of the back of the body. These are muscles which greatly help with your posture, especially as we start to move further up. So yin is a great tool to use for if you're somebody who slumps over a desk a lot of the day, a really gentle and passive way to tend to the body, nurture the body and the mind too. See if you can find a little more space, a little bit more depth, even if it's just the smallest amount. Coming to your last couple of breaths here, and start to sit all the way up, and same as on the other side, unraveling the legs, taking them out in front of you, and then closed eyes, observe. What's different? What isn't? Good job. Okay, so let's go back into your tabletop position just as a transition. We're going towards the glutes now. So coming into swan pose and then sleeping swan. Bringing your right knee towards your right wrist and your right foot towards your left wrist. It doesn't have to be a perfect 90-degree angle. This doesn't work for everybody's bodies. And then either staying up on your hands, or you can take it down to the elbows. You can place a little blanket underneath that left hip flexor. And then you can do as I'm doing. I'm using my block just to bring the ground up so that I don't go too deep straight away. So forehead places on the short, tall side of the block. And you can do this with some pillows stacked up or a bolster. Targeting the right glute, of course. And if that right knee feels a little sensitive, again, you're very welcome to prop that up with a towel or a blanket. So many options here. The alternative for this is figure 4 pose, lying on the back. Right knee, right foot crosses over the left thigh, and then you thread the needle, bringing the left leg towards you. But if not, you're here in sleeping swan. And in a few moments, I'm going to give you an option for a twist in this pose that will incorporate the lats, which is the next muscle in the posterior chain. So there we go. You have the option here to bring the left arm underneath, threading the needle and finding a twist in your right leg, sleeping swan. This will serve to definitely bring that left hip flexor further down towards the ground, which might feel a little too intense. And really stretching into the left lat muscle, or the left side of the lats. Again, finding this melting sensation down, down, down into the mat. I always like to use the imagery of a cube of butter melting in a hot pan. Nice job. Start to unravel, coming all the way up to the hands, and then slowly in your own time bringing that right knee back underneath your hip to tabletop position. Again, observe maybe some cooling or warming sensations. You can take a little rock of the hips side to side if that felt particularly intense. Another thing that you might notice is pins and needles. Don't be alarmed, this is just the blood rushing back in. And we're going to take exactly that on the other side. So sleeping swan, the left leg comes forward, we bring it into that 90-degree angle, and then we extend that right leg back. And find your sleeping swan. Again, might feel different on this side. You might be able to find more depth straight off, or it might be less, and that's okay. Our glutes can get so tight, particularly if you're somebody who does exercise a lot, who lifts a lot of weights, or maybe you're a dancer and dancers get really tight glutes. This pose is the perfect antidote. Maybe seeing if you can find a little bit more depth. And in your own time, if you would like to take that twist, bring in the right arm this time underneath. You're very welcome to take it now. Stretching the right side of the lats. Whilst also stretching the left glute. And although this isn't the focus of this pose today, you are also getting a stretch into the right hip flexor. Taking your last couple of breaths here. And starting to unravel yourself, take your time, sitting all the way up and then coming back to your tabletop position. Again, stillness, observance. And again, if you can manage to keep your eyes closed, that's even better. So now we're moving on to the muscles of the upper back body. So we're going to focus in on the lats and the erector spinae muscles. So we're going to come into a wide leg extended child's pose, the big toes touching, knees nice and wide, and then we're going to take a side stretch here. So you're going to walk your hands over towards the right, giving a big side stretch into the left side body, the left side of the lats and the erector spinae, which are these muscles which just go either side of your spine. So really focusing on lengthening through the back, and maybe the left palm goes on top of the right hand to feel a little bit more sensation into that left side. Again, this is a pose that we're in for 3 minutes, so you really should feel quite a difference when you come out of this. Think of really expanding that left rib cage. Imagine there was a flower attached to that left rib cage, and every time that you breathe in, the flower bud opens up, and every time you breathe out, it closes back up. Keeping your breath smooth and consistent, almost like an infinity loop of breath. And I find it can quite help to imagine that infinity loop in my mind when my monkey mind is bouncing around. Coming to your last couple of breaths on this side. Brilliant. Starting to come up and then coming into tabletop just to reset. Give your hips a little break from that wide-legged position. And it's worth noting here, if that wide-legged position doesn't work for you, you can do this with the knees together as well. I'm sorry, I didn't say that. And then taking it to the other side. Again, here for 3 minutes. As we get closer to the end of our practice together, I'm going to speak less to allow for that full withdrawal of the senses, focusing in on yourself rather than my voice. Just a little bit longer here. Check back in with your body, check back in with your mind, check back in with your breath. If your thoughts ran away for a bit there, it's okay. Be kind to yourself. Taking your last couple of deep breaths on this side. We're going to be moving into our next pose, which will target the erector spinae muscles. So starting to make your way back to tabletop position. And this is actually just another variation of child's pose, this time bringing the knees together, the feet together, sitting back onto the heels, and then draping your body over and bringing the hands back, the palms face up. You have the option here, of course, to prop your forehead up with a block or a bolster or some towels to bring the ground to you, or maybe you have the not often enough spoken about problem of your nose feeling squashed in child's pose. A little block can help with that. Complete surrender, complete melting. And most importantly here is the extension of the back muscles of the spine, the rounding of the spine as your forehead reaches down towards the ground, stretching those beautiful muscles either side of the spine in the most passive, gentle, beautiful way. And I'm going to leave you in quiet for a couple of minutes. Taking your last couple of breaths here and then rolling all the way up to seated. Sitting up nice and tall with the hands in the lap, and this is your moment of stillness, your rebound. Rolling onto the bum, bring the legs out in front of you. Rolling down towards the back or onto your back. We're going to take a lying down spinal twist on each side, 3 minutes on each side. So bringing the left knee in towards the chest, give it a good squeeze, and then taking it over the body, over towards the right. And then the left arm either stretches out nice and long, or you can bring it to a goalpost arm if you're lacking in space. And gazing towards this arm. The other hand, the right hand, can be resting gently on the thigh or on the knee, but not gripping and not pulling, just resting. Always option to prop up this left knee with blocks or a blanket, and always the option to actually have both knees bent and have the knees stacked instead of just bending the one knee. And of course here we are targeting those back muscles, the erector spinae, the lats, a little bit of glute here with the leg that's crossing over. And these will be our last poses before Shavasana. So really focusing on finding that space, even though the belly might feel that it's somehow compressed, breathing deep down into it. Shoulders are away from the ears. And again, going to be leaving you in quiet for a couple of minutes, and I'll come back to prompt you into the other side. Taking one last breath in here, and then unraveling the limbs. We're going to find a rebound here, so that's just both feet planted into the ground with the knees facing up. Bring one hand to the belly and one hand to the heart, or maybe both hands to the belly, and feel your breath with a neutral spine. And then moving into the other side, so this time it's the right leg that bends in towards the chest with the left leg extended, and then taking that right leg all the way over towards the left into your twist, setting yourself up in a way that feels comfortable and sustainable, and then closing down the eyes. Any spinal adjustments, noises, cracks and pops, accept them. We spend a lot of time bent over computers with poor posture. And this is a perfect pose to reset all of that. And again, I'm going to leave you, and I'll bring you out when it's time. Taking one last breath here in this posture, and start to unravel, bringing both feet flat to the ground, knees face up again, both hands to the belly, or one hand to the belly and one hand to the heart, and just take a moment to neutralize your spine, letting the vertebrae settle back into their natural curves. And we're going to move into Shavasana, final resting pose. Complete rest, feet as wide as the mat and hands wider than the mat, palms face up, slight tuck of the chin towards the chest to elongate the back of the neck. And take rest. Taking deeper breaths now, coming back into the space, an awareness of your surroundings. Feeling the belly rise and fall as you breathe in and breathe out. And start to bring some movement to the body. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Maybe you rock your head back and forth. And then rolling into a fetus position, really doesn't matter which side. Using your own arms as a pillow and just pause here. Start to sit all the way up into a comfortable seat of your choice. Nice long spine, taking a deep breath in and out, and another, and side out. Good job, everybody. I hope that was exactly what you needed. I'll see you in the next practice. Bye.